Good afternoon. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications. That's local to North Alabama.
Yeah.
You can also find us on television in Abundant Television. That's syndicated. That's found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so we're going to have a new loop to talk with you also about another adventure we're going to be taking. I'll let you know about it.
Okay.
We're always looking for ways to promote folks like this guy right here. His name is Phillip Gilliland. He's with the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. Always good to see you, Phillip.
Oh, it's good to be here. Good
always,
to be here.
always a pleasure. I love the Cowboy Church. And let me tell you something. Each one you go to, they're all the same. I mean, it's always like, parking lot's always full.
Yes,
And you'll pass by, and I'm not knocking anybody's church, but you'll pass by churches and there'll be nobody there. And then you'll just pass a Cowboy church. Wherever you travel, cars everywhere, kids everywhere.
Yes. And I think that's the part that intrigues me the most is the number of kids. We had 38 this past Wednesday night, and it was a hoot. It was good, but it's a good thing, the fact that we got young people, we keep engaging young people, and if you give them the opportunity, they will help grow your church. A lot of our growth comes through our young people and the outreach ministries we do for young people. Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing. It's a really good thing.
It is. And Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church is just, we've been going there for way over a year.
Yes.
And so, the kids are all over the place. They're sitting in the amen corner where old fogies like me used to sit.
That's right. So that's true.
They're sitting in the amen corner. And then we went a few times also to Cowboy Church in Boaz, Sand Mountain Cowboy Church. And my cousin Kay and Mike go there. And same thing.
Oh,
kids everywhere.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to me how what we've done is drawn a bunch of kids, but a lot of that comes from the work that goes into our summer camps, and they make relationships. And one of my boys, I have to say, has a little friend at Lookout Mountain, and so I get to go preach over there the last Sunday of September and do some Cowboy Church 101, and now he can't wait till then because he can go. So he's 15. He's got his permit, but he can't drive. But now she's already 16 and she can drive. So they've been able to meet a few. But they met and got to know each other at camp. Mm-hmm. And there's another young girl in our church, and she's got a little boyfriend from Cedar Creek, and so it's neat to see these kids connecting with these other churches, and it's about the same way with the adults. The longer we go, the more connections we make in between our churches. That's why we like to do the fifth Sunday night thing in that fifth Sunday night in October. We're going to have 3 on a string at the Trading Post.
Oh, wow.
And then Brother Aaron Johnson is going to preach that night. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about that. But I think the fifth Sunday nights and our young people, and all of that causes us to engage more with each other. And those times of fellowship and worship together are phenomenal when we all get to one place. I always, and I'm not the only one, the other guys say it too, the other pastors say, well, it's kind of like a little taste of heaven because we're all there and we're all just one church. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. A lot of good things going on right now. The fall gathering will be October the 14th at the Trading Post, and that there'll be a whole group of chuck wagons cooking. There's going to be some music that day and night, and there'll be some things in the arena for kids, and the bucking machine. If the weather's bad or the arena's too muddy, we've got that machine that we'll be bucking in the building and letting kids just have a big time. And So a lot of things going on. My schedule's really busy right now, but it's all good stuff. We're making some trips out to visit some other states where churches that have already been going a while have decided they want to affiliate and be part of the American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. And there's a process that we go through to do that. So we're working on that, and that's a really good thing. It takes me, in a lot of different places, but it's a good time. It's a good thing.
Well, let's talk about what you do, what your affiliation is with the Cowboy Church.
Well, I'm one of the staff people, and I serve with 7 other people on staff jobs. 2 ladies and the rest are men. Miss Pat Gauss is our lady that answers the phone. Miss Connie Sanford, she's a lady that helps with ladies' conferences. She helps even with pastor processing for the wives portion of pastor process.
That's important.
And she's really good at it. She was a pastor's wife, and her husband.
She gets it.
Yes, she gets it. Her husband passed away a couple of years ago. Super good guy. He passed away with cancer, but she's been with us forever. Miss Connie is one of the people that have a heart for kids. I mean, a tremendous heart for kids, and so she's involved in camps, and she keeps up with these kids after they're grown and married and got children, and she can still she stays connected to them. And then the other guys that we each got different, we serve and function like we try to encourage our churches to do by teams. And I serve on a new church start team and new affiliate team with Danny Bry. Larry Magruder out in Utah's on that team, and some other people that help us occasionally. But Jeff Bishop, who's our executive director, said he had to write job descriptions. He said, "You're the only one I had trouble with," and because of where I'm located, I have to do what everybody else together does. I do by myself most of the time. So a lot of what I do is try to help and encourage pastors and help churches, and try to encourage them or go help when there's some training that needs to be done. And we're starting a new thing, which I think is really great. We start this September the 12th on Tuesday night. Brother Aaron Johnson, who started the Cowboy Church at Sand Mountain Cowboy Church in Boaz, he is starting a teaching. It's a certificate program for Cowboy Church pastors, and we'll do that at the Marshall Baptist Associational office every Tuesday night for 4 or 6 or 8 weeks. It's the pilot program, and this program may go across the country, but it's starting in Alabama, and Brother Aaron is an incredible preacher, pastor, and we're all really excited about it. Those of us who know him, and Michael Marsh knows. Michael said a lot of positive things about this. Michael, of course, is pastor of Sand Mountain Cowboy Church, but I think we have 15 or more guys attending this thing on Tuesday nights. And we're going to start off with, he's starting off teaching us about Bible study and sermon preparation. So I think that's a really, really neat thing.
Remarkable.
And I'm excited about that, probably as much as anything I have on my plate coming up, because I've heard him preach several times. I've done funerals with Brother Aaron. He and I started talking about this in 2018, and finally the time is right.
Perfect timing.
And so that starts September the 12th. I think it's one of the really good things that'll help a lot of our pastors, and so it's a lot of good stuff going on, and it's enough to keep you busy for sure.
I know it is, but I think it's remarkable that you guys support the preachers' wives.
Oh yes,
Because
yes.
there is, say, my dad was a minister and Phil's dad was a minister. And I
Yeah.
said, Phil, you're not thinking about being a minister, are you?
Yeah. Well,
So they have a rough life.
I'm telling you, and I think about it occasionally, and you cannot do. It is really, I will say, it's not impossible because we have a pastor right now, one of our pastors that's not married, but it is really hard to do it without a wife. I couldn't imagine myself doing it without a wife because all the little things that she picks up and does and never gets credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if something's wrong, she gets the blame for it, but she never gets the credit for any of the things that she does that's the good things.
I've just noticed the support there for the ministers' wives. I know at the Sand Mountain, the Boaz, and then also the Fort Payne churches, the pastors' wives, it seems like they're just kind of, I mean, you don't see them physically standing there holding their arms out in case he falls for anything,
Yeah.
but you can just see they support him. I mean, I've seen
spiritually
Judy,
they do. Yeah, Miss
and
Judy.
they always sit right on the very front bench.
Miss Judy's a perfect example of a pastor's wife, and thank goodness for them. We have some that are just outstanding, and Miss Judy would be one of them. I talked to Tim Collier on the way over here this morning, and Tim's wife Tammy is another one that I think are just impeccable pastor wives, and you know, of course I think mine's the best, but I should think mine's the best. But
Elizabeth's fantastic too.
It's something that's important, and when we do a thing like we did at the Trading Post a couple of weeks ago, we had 4 pastors. One from Michigan, one from North Carolina, one from Tennessee, and one from Alabama that went through the process. And we decided that we're not going to do any. We had to do a couple of those just because of some surgery and some distance and things that we couldn't be helped. But we made a decision that we're not going to do any more of them without the wife there. Not that there was anything wrong or bad, but that wife needs to hear from these ladies. Danny's wife, Miss Robin, her and Miss Connie, and usually some other ladies that happen to Jimmy's wife, Miss Tracy, sometimes she'll be there, and they all get these ladies. And there was one of the pastor's wives, and man, I just really am drawn to her, and her husband, I love him, and he's new, but this lady, she revealed it to him in that session in private, that she took the sacrament of the Lord's Supper by herself every morning in her morning devotion. And I thought, man, I am missing somebody. Her morning devotions are so important to her that she takes herself the sacrament of the Lord's Supper daily, doesn't miss a day. And I'm thinking, wow, that's good. That's a good woman right there. And her answer, they said, well, why? She said, because of what you did for me. And she told part of her testimony, and I won't say it, but I do know it, and she and I've talked about it. And man, it is. She has an incredible testimony. Someday she might share it with everybody, but she's a sweetheart of a lady, and that just spoke a lot to me when I found out about that. I thought, what an incredible devotion. And when she and I talked about it, she told me, she said, I just owe so much to my Lord. And I thought, wow, that made me feel about that, Paul. But it showed me, what somebody that's really dedicated can do.
We're talking about husbands and wives, and the preacher's wife. So let's talk to teenagers right now who are thinking about getting out on the dating scene.
Yeah, I've got a funeral today. There's a huge family, huge part of our church, and there's 21 or 22 great grandchildren, most of which come to our church. and most of them, the oldest one's like barely a teenager. I think 14 maybe. And what I'm gonna and of course it's Mr. Robert Green Sr.'s the man that passed away. Him and his wife Susie been married for 58 years,
Wow.
and
Awesome.
I'm gonna really challenge them, the boys and the girls at that funeral today, if the Lord lets me. I'm gonna challenge them to pick a mate and treat them like Mr. Robert treated Miss Susie, because if to the girls, I'm going to challenge them to accept nobody less than that. That'll treat you special, make you feel special, and not be selfish towards you, but you deserve somebody like their great grandpa. They do. The girls deserve, they shouldn't take less than that, and the boys ought to strive to be that kind of a guy. And I'm going to, if the Lord lets me, I'm going to say a bunch about that today, because I've got an audience of kids, and every one of them knows me. The least ones of those know my name. And I went through 3 big giant bags of M&Ms at the big visitation yesterday. They all know I keep M&Ms, and I don't know how many little.
Where are my M&Ms?
Yeah, they're in my truck. I had to make a stop this morning to get more, because I know I'm going to get hit up about them. But it's important to me, and people. I know people think, well, why are you ruining them kids? Well, you don't know which one of them one day I might get to lead to the Lord. Because there's some of those great grandkids.
Kids remember stuff like that.
There's some of them I've already led to the Lord and baptized. So, to me, it's important to bond with the young, and sometimes they'll tell you something that will be a word from heaven. I'm absolutely convinced. Sometimes the little boy from Cedar Creek was at church, and this happened at the clinic, and of course it was all adults, and he was looking at his cell phone and pacing around, and I was at his dad is like kind of is one of our younger pastors, an incredible preacher. Oh my goodness, he can preach, and has done a tremendous job pastoring that church. But I asked him, and I've known him since he was tiny, and he's still a small little guy, but I could tell he was a little bit antsy, and of course that's just his personality. I said, buddy, where is she at? He said, her mother's got to work till lunchtime and she can't come till then. I told him, I said, buddy, you want me to text her mother and ask her if I can go get her? And he said, would you do that? I said, absolutely. Now, I've got 120 people here at our church from about 7 different states. And we got stuff going on and food being prepared, a million things going on. But I text her, and she didn't even text me back. The little girl texted me back and said, Mama said you could come get me. I mean, bam, just like that. So we get in my truck and we start over there, and I'm telling him, buddy, when we get there, you get out and you go to the door and you walk her back. I mean, if your kid goes somewhere with me, I'm treating them like my kid. I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to be instructing them. I'm going to be encouraging them. And I'm telling him all that. And he said, where do they live? And I said, we just had got out of the parking lot. I said, buddy, it's about 10 minutes over here. They live on a big farm, and they got family all over that farm. He looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He said, Brother Phillip, are we not all kind of family? And I said, you're right, we are. And so we went, we got her, and we come back, and they played together and roped the dummy, and they had the best time. He's 11 and she's 12. My goodness, but I mean, you invest in a kid, you're investing in the future, and if they're part of your church, you need to be invested in. And so I think sometimes I won't ever forget him telling me, are we not all kind of family? And I thought, well, he's 11 years old and he gets it. He gets it. Yeah. Yes. But that was pretty good. I love doing that. And it didn't take me, 20, 25 minutes to get over there and back. and they didn't miss me when I was gone. I mean, everything.
That's the best 25
Yes,
minutes.
and I got to do something with two young people.
Mm-hmm.
It was neat. It was just a neat thing to get to do.
Let's talk to girls right now. I'm going to say something to you that's going to shock you. And I'm in the media. I'm a woman in the media. Okay, I believe the man should be the head of the house.
Oh, I do too.
I'm sorry. You know, women talk about we have no independence. Let me tell you something. If you let the man be the head of the house, you'll have more independence to know what to do with.
That's right.
Because you're going with the right order of things in your marriage.
Well, that's the way God intended it for.
I don't feel like I'm in bondage.
Well, no, and you shouldn't feel beneath anybody. You know, here's the thing, and I counsel with a lot of ladies, and I can tell you, there is a large number of ladies that do not know their self-worth, and it's kind of heartbreaking to me, and I don't know what has caused this. I think society has tried to. And
listening to the wrong thing.
Well, listen. When I was a small kid, women rarely. And listen, don't get me wrong. My wife works outside the home, but when I was growing up, not many women worked outside the home. And I can tell you, we didn't have the divorce rate that we do today.
My grandmother's pretty much well ruled the roost. Yes. I mean, they really did, while being the husband being the head of the house.
Yes,
because they trusted them.
Yes, that's right.
They trusted him to make the right decisions.
And the husband was making a living, and he bared the major part of the responsibility of the home, and that man that we're celebrating his life today, he was really good at that, and he had a really strong wife. I'm talking about, I mean, a strong wife, but she respected him, and they've been married 58 years.
Neither one of my grandmothers were mealy mouths.
No.
Neither one of them
Neither
were.
one of this
They
lady.
never had to go beg either of my granddads for money to buy groceries with. They would just my granddad would say, both my granddads would say, the woman in the last chapter of Proverbs pretty much well ruled the roost.
Yes.
There. You know, of course he was the ruler, but what they both meant by that is you don't have to beg me for money to get groceries with, or if you need a dress, go get one.
That's right.
That's how they always do.
And I think that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be in this thing together, but there's an order, a biblical order that calls for the husband. And if you're a husband, be the leader, be the man God called you to be, and lead your family in more ways than just financially or security. Lead them spiritually, because that's the way
the woman actually wants you to do that.
Yes, that's right.
Really. I know we say stuff, but that's not true. It's not. I'm perfectly happy for my husband to open the door for me. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I think it's just respect. I think we've lost a little bit of that respect.
Well, I'm kind of old-fashioned in
as
that.
A nation.
I think we ought to do those things. I think that men ought to respect the lady. She was, and I'll do a wedding the first Sunday in October for one of the most special young ladies that I've known, one of the hardest working young ladies, one of the strongest young women I know, who graduated from Mississippi State, and when I do her wedding, I'm going to say some things about that, but being strong doesn't mean you have to be overpowering. Being strong doesn't mean that.
You be strong in your duties, what God wants you to do.
Yes, I think it's a good thing, but it will make a man sometimes that kind of a lady, and she's a driven person in her careers, and I've known since the get-go she was going to be like that. Man, that kind of a lady will make a mediocre man a great man if he pushes himself to stay ahead of her and lead her like the Bible calls him to. It'll make him a better man.
Both my granddads were strong men.
Yes.
But one of my granddads only had a 6th grade education. And so he actually had a big position with the USDA with a 6th grade education. But it was my grandmother, I'm pretty sure, who helped him get there.
Yeah.
And then my other granddad had a 9th grade education, was superintendent of cotton mills. and there was the police department in Oxford. I mean,
Yeah.
but my grandmothers, they wanted them to be the best they could
That's
be.
right. That's right. And that's what a lady should want. And usually behind every man that is a good, strong leader of his home, and there's usually a prayer warrior of a woman praying for him and encouraging him. Because men need encouragement. They need encouragement from their wife. And husbands, in turn, need to encourage their wife, because there's nothing more important than what a mom and wife does. There's just nothing any more important, that I believe, than what she does.
That's the most important thing you can be as a wife.
Yes.
Or as a mother.
And we were blessed because, when my younger boys came along, and of course I was still working. I had a really good job, and she didn't have to teach, and she didn't. She stepped away, and of course now they're both teenagers, and she's teaching, and she loves it because she teaches where they go to school. So it's worked out really good. Sometimes you can't see what God's doing. Sometimes you just have to trust
That
him.
was the dog barking. We've got to go into a commercial
Okay.
break. Wouldn't you know, I would have a dog barking for the timer. We'll be right back in just a minute. Everybody hang in there, okay? At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes. Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant, with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdy.lawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Because of all of you, MyPillow 2.0 has been a huge success, and now we're bringing you our best-selling Go Anywhere MyPillows with the same temperature-regulating technology. Made with my patented adjustable fill and brand-new cooling fabric, they're truly the next generation of MyPillow. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save over 60% on our MyPillow 2.0 4-pack special. You'll get 2 MyPillows and 2 Go Anywhere MyPillows, regular $259.92, now only $99.98. King size just $10 more. This is a limited time offer, so please order now.
Okay. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is #1 as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. Okay, we are back from the commercial break. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors, and thank you to Applebee's for coming back.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you can win a $20 gift certificate. If you would like to win any of our prizes, all you have to do is send an email. You can see my email address right there, donna@donnasedge.com. And I'll put you in the drawing. And I wanted to tell you this too. Your name always stays in that box. I got a big old box by now, by the way, Phillip.
Oh, good.
It's a huge box.
Well, that's
so
good.
You always get a chance, okay? Just because you don't win this time when you enter doesn't mean you'll never win. As a matter of fact, I have people who are kind of surprised and they'll say, well, that was years ago when I entered. I've had a few. And then some people get lucky and they get picked the first time.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
you just never
the luck
know.
Of the draw.
You just never know. But thank you again so much for watching. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And also thank you to you, because without you watching, we wouldn't be here. So we appreciate that. And our awesome guest, this guy right here. You've been on the show years.
I don't know how long, but
that's been a long time. We've been friends a really long time, and I appreciate your friendship.
I value yours very much.
Yeah, Phil and I just love this guy to death. His name is Phillip Gilliland. He's with American Fellowship of Cowboy Churches. We're talking a little bit about, I know you heard a shock from me, a person in the media world who thinks the man should be #1. Yeah, it kind of takes a load off of me.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Well, I think it's it was always meant to be that way, and you know, that if you want to figure out all the things that's wrong in this country,
That's part
that's
of
a
it.
part of it. That's a part of it. I've said this in a lot of churches, and somebody will probably let me have it, and if they want to, they can. But I can assure, I read the story of Jezebel or anybody else, and they don't. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally, and I know we have a Jezebel to show up. And man, the evil that she can do, or the disruption in a church that she can cause, there ain't any 10 men can do as much damage as one really evil spirited woman.
It's true.
But then on the other hand, you take a good, godly woman and put her in a church, and there ain't 20 men can do as much good as she can do.
There's an old movie that came on. It was made back in the 1950s, I think, maybe the early 1950s, and it's about a woman that her husband was the pastor of a church, and they were out in the middle of Tennessee, out in the country, and what have you. So this Jezebel type woman started coming to the church and started needing consultation with it over and over again, and she put that woman back in her place.
Yeah,
I mean, she really did on this. So if I've had an issue with something, the fact, when you first get married, you have little fusses with your spouse. That's just going to happen. And if anybody tells you go into a marriage and it's just going to be perfect from day one, they're wrong.
Yes.
So we expect some of those things to happen. I talked to the pastor's wife. I figured she would have a better feel for how I felt than the pastor. So, and I mean, an awesome, awesome lady. I'm going to tell you, I'm still in contact with that woman.
Good.
So she was just an awesome lady to deal with.
Yes. We have several of those in all of our Cowboy churches, and man, we could not do, of course, one of those ladies in our church is Miss Barbara that leads a lot of the teams. She did the chuck wagon for a long time. That's her dad is whose funeral is today. But those ladies and they show up on Wednesday night when we have all these kids at our church, and they're the ones that we cook for ours. We feed them on Wednesday night, and then we have a Bible study, and it's phenomenal what goes on with our young people, and that is the future of our church. And it's sad to me that a lot of our country traditional churches, like I grew up in, and I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for that church. But a lot of those have lost their children, and boy, when you lose your young people and your children, and of course we said it over and over, we all say the same thing, man, there's nothing like hearing little kids in the church service.
It doesn't bother me at all.
We had a young couple came. They didn't have a baby yesterday, but they moved here, and they moved here from Portland, Oregon. We were so blessed to have them. But their kids were at our church on Wednesday night, and then yesterday, their parents and the kids were in church. So, sometimes it's the kids that lead the parents, but.
There's a lady that goes to the Lookout Mountain Cowboy Church. Amanda and Abe Duckett.
Yes.
Well, I could be her grandmother, and she leads me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Amanda's always checking up on me, make sure I'm okay and all this kind of stuff. She knows I have asthma, so she's just always checking up.
Oh, yeah.
She sent me a message this morning.
Well,
so Amanda leads.
Yes.
Even though I could be her grandmother.
Well, and it shouldn't matter. Doesn't matter about
it doesn't
age.
matter to me.
I always tell people that when God chose people, He never chose them by their age or ability. He'd take young boys like David or Solomon and make them king of a nation.
Moses, who had a speech impediment?
Yes, and take Daniel and let him do what he did. And my goodness, it's just probably one of my favorite ones was Joseph, who Potiphar had him in jail, and he was known as the dreamer back in Genesis, and he saved his entire family, and some of his brothers just hated him. They sold him into slavery, and And then when their dad Jacob died, God changed his name to Israel. This is at the end of Genesis, but and it's a great story. But he was the dad's kind of favorite son, and man, the Lord did so much. He saved a nation, and if they hadn't have done what they done to him, he wouldn't have been in a position to do that.
And it's so funny how you're saying that. I want to show you something Brad sent me, my son, minister son.
Uh-huh.
He's somebody else that I look up to.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And again, it doesn't matter the age. It's just I needed to hear that, and then you said the same thing.
Oh yeah,
So,
and of course that's been made into a Broadway show, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. But I've watched the same thing 3 or 4 times because it had such a biblical message in it, and we ought to grasp those biblical messages, and we could use more of them in the world. It's what I scream at people in sermons about all the time. What we need is less of the world in church and more of the church in the world.
well, what would you say to somebody? I hear this a lot. They'll say, "Why should I read the Bible? That's back from like the olden days. The times are so different." What do you say to that person?
I say, well, where else is there that there's that much truth? And there is nothing that
People
compares.
are people still.
Yes,
It
people,
doesn't matter whether you got technology or not.
that it doesn't. That Bible is still the highest level of truth there is. And how can you grow and understand and grow spiritually without reading the Bible? You need to, and I think that's what hurts people. And I know people come to our church and they don't pick up a Bible all week long. And I can tell you the ones that do and the ones that don't. And I don't have to judge anybody. You can tell by the fruit they bear. You just can tell it in the way they talk and their spirit that they generate. You can tell the people that study their Bible and the ones that don't. And it's not making a judgment. It's just a pure fact. That's just the way it is. And we all need to be in the Word. Probably when I was as far away from where I ought to be as I could get, I still knew to grab that Bible and look for something. Because no matter what you're going through, this sweet lady that I'm marrying her husband today, they've been married 58 years, and Jesus said in John 16:33, "In this world you'll have many troubles, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." So he knows, Jesus, every emotion that any of us have, every pain that any of us have, every hurt that any of us have, he experienced on the cross, everything, including all our sin. So he understands. If there's one person, I've never lost a child, and Miss Susie buried a son the first of this year, and here we are at the end of the year burying her husband. Losing 2 people like that is tough. It's tough, but the only person that really understands that's Almighty God. So who do you? He said, "Cast all your care on me because I care for you." And that's what we should do. You have to take it to him and let him help you deal with it. I've got people in our church that have lost family members that are really hurting and struggling, and they just can't. 1 or 2 that I really love them, and they are just really struggling with it. And I wouldn't pretend for a second to know how that feels. I don't. But I know if they ever really get it handed over to God, he can help them deal with it.
Well, the older I've got, the better it is to accept. I lost my first grandmother when I was a senior in high school. I thought that was the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I really did. But as I've gotten older, I didn't want my other grandparents to pass away, but it's easier to accept because I know where they are.
Oh, yeah.
There is no doubt.
Well, and that's what makes Miss Susie told me about Mr. Roberts, that she told me his the day he accepted Christ as his Savior. She was with him, and they were in a church together. And I loved her telling me that, because it brought a smile to her face and brought peace. You could just see this peaceful look on her face, talking about his salvation, and she was there to experience that with him. And what a blessing! That they're unique people. Everybody's marriage is unique. Every one of us are unique. We're fearfully and wonderfully made in the likeness and image of our Heavenly Father. But, I think that this one is not one I'm worried about. And she told me yesterday, she said, make this a celebration. And I said, well, I'm going to do my best to. And not that she hadn't had her moments.
Of course.
And people that lose somebody, I was like you. I lost my granddad, who was really close to me. I was 16 years old. And it probably hurt me worse than losing my dad when I was 50-something years old.
You get a better understanding.
Yes. I was just so close to, and I was close to my dad, man, and I hurt, man. It was tough. It was hard to let go. But at the same time, I have a better understanding about this process of life, because the Bible tells us it's appointed unto man once to die. We're born with an expiration date, and only God in heaven knows when that is. But I believe that He knows from the get-go that exactly where, how, and when.
I know too. So, like I'm 64 years old. It only seems like yesterday I was 17 when my grandmother passed away. So time flies by.
Oh, it does.
And so that's why I think we need to make the most of that time too.
Yes.
Not waste
yes.
it.
And that's the hard part about somebody just struggling with something. It is the time that they're wasting when they need to try to pick up the pieces, ask God to help them, and move on. No matter, He's got a season for everything. I've come to understand that God has a season for everything. And I'm just living in a season right now. I'm in a good season. And I love the season I'm in. But when that season changes, then it changes. And there's another season. And I'm not in charge of that. I'm glad He is, because He sure knows what He's doing, and I barely have a clue what I'm doing.
I don't have any kind of a clue whatsoever. Now, we've talked about marriages and we've talked about different things. Young people, let's talk to the business person, because a lot of business folks go to Cowboy Church.
Oh, yeah.
And, a lot of business folks would say, you Bible thumper.
Oh, yeah.
You think you're going to get advice out of a Bible on how to run a business?
Oh, well, I think that's the best.
I do it.
That's the best advice.
Be afraid
you can
not
get.
to.
Yeah, I think that's the best advice you get. And I mentioned Brother Aaron. Brother Aaron leads a group of businessmen, and I can't remember. I believe they may do this weekly. They have a weekly lunch that they do, and he teaches them some basic sound business principles, and he combines the Bible with that. And my sons are a good example in their business. One of the most charitable people I know is my oldest son. He's all about the Maker's Child Project in Albertville, and they're raffling off tickets to a Corvette that he donated, a brand new one. He never drove it. It was brand new. He donated it. And man, what a worthy cause. This is, the short version of it is, it's like a rec center for special needs. And it's got everything from a swimming pool to ball fields and everything.
I need to get those folks on the show.
Oh, man. I can tell you, Chris Johnson would probably be, he's pastor of the First Baptist Church, and he probably would be as good as anybody.
I'll write that down right now, because my mind will be, I'll forget. Chris Johnson?
Yes, Chris Johnson. He's part of that. He would be a good contact person, but they're
I'd love to
raising money for that, and I love it because I've had so many of those in my life that were like angels speaking to me from heaven, and I was talking to my wife about one whose name is Emily. Emily lives in Florida, and she's the greatest overachiever I've ever known. And I was so mad. I'm just going to tell you, I was so mad. Now, she has become she's about to run her third Boston Marathon. She was running a race yesterday and got pushed at the finish line. And she ended up second. It skinned her little hands all up. But I think it was like a 5K or something, and she can breeze through that like it's nothing. And she was winning and got pushed at the finish line. And from what I understood, it was not an accident. And I thought, good grief, how do you? And now I call her a child, but she's 32 years old. But I've known her since she was a child. And there's been so much that I heard from God speak through that young lady that changed my life. It forever changed my life. She come to me, and she was a chunky 14-year-old girl that had had seizures her whole life. To ride a horse, her grandmother brought her. She'd come up from Florida to stay with her grandmother. Grandmother's gone on to heaven, but I got to know her that way, and I've stayed in contact with her. And there was times when I'd be traveling and driving late at night, and my phone would ring. It'd be her, and she'd talk to me and talk to me and talk. She loves to talk sports. She is really into athletics, and sometimes I would just say never discount what you hear, because there may be in fact, it tells us in Hebrews chapter 13 that there are angels on. Many have entertained angels unaware. So you never know. You never know.
I think that's just an amazing thing. I want to get in touch with them, get them on the show.
Oh, you need to. That's such a noble, worthwhile project. My son's kind of gotten really involved in that, and I think it's great. I think maybe John Henderson at Compassion City Church is involved in it, but I know Chris is, because I sat by him at a luncheon a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about it a little bit. He's a great guy too. Like I said, he pastors First Baptist in Albertville.
You just brought a great point, because a lot of folks think the Cowboy Church is isolated, and they are not. There are so many projects they do with other churches. I know First Baptist Albertville big time.
Yeah.
And they're working with the Boaz Church, Sand Mountain Church, on a project right now.
Yes. And we have a church. And it's everywhere. I got a call from pastor of a big church in Florida, near Jacksonville, Florida, and he has a vision to start a Cowboy church and have somebody else pastor it. They want their church to just basically sponsor it. So I'll make another Florida.
That's what Christians are supposed to do. It's not like we're in competition with each other, like we're against you. We're all in this battle together.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And we can do a lot of things to help each other. That's one thing that the Lord has let our Cowboy churches start doing, is we have learned how to help each other. And like I said this morning, I got a call from Tim Collier to see if I could preach for him this Sunday. And the Lord's given me 5 guys in my church that can preach at the drop of a hat. Well, that means that this Sunday and 2 Sundays in September, I'll be gone. But that church won't miss me at all because of these other guys. And thank the Lord for every one of them. There is such a group of men and people and women in our church that if somebody has to be out, we don't miss a beat. And we hadn't always had that. I mean, there's been times when if somebody was out, you just had to shut everything down. And we don't have to do that now. Thank the Lord for those kind of people. And there's some of them that are kind of new for us, but such a breath of fresh air. So if you're engaged in a church, I don't care which church it is, step up and get your hands dirty. Do some kind of ministry. This is what I tell people all the time, and I believe this more than anything in the world. If you're struggling with something, whether it be grief or whether you got trouble at work or your finances are in shambles, if you pick out one thing that you can do to minister to somebody, I don't care if it's bake a dozen cookies and take it to somebody, or if you can go mow a little old lady's yard that needs mowing.
Give them some vegetables out of your garden.
You're doing ministry.
So many things.
And when you do ministry, it takes away part of that burden. I don't care how little you think it is. When you do it for somebody else and you do it because of the Jesus that lives in your heart, you're doing ministry. I don't care who you are. And when you do ministry, it takes away that burden. It takes away that hurt. Not totally, and it may take a while, but it will eventually get you through a really hard time.
We saw Bobby Ledbetter doing that.
Oh, yes.
You know, feeding all these kids. It's going to be back in business
Yes.
pretty soon, so we're glad to hear that.
Absolutely.
But I mean, no questions asked. None.
No. I always remember, and you missed it, but we were at Center.
That's the one I missed.
And that day we ran out of food, and we had 20 or 30 cars still in line. And he calls to McDonald's and gives them his credit card number, and he said, I'm sending people there that's going to tell you my name, and I'll be down there, and you can run my card or give me a receipt. And he set it up, and they got to order anything they wanted to. Anything they wanted to. And that's the kind of guy he is. That's the kind of guy that's the kind of guy I went to buy my wife a car from, because I know what his heart is.
That's what we did too. That's where we buy all of our vehicles from. He's going to be getting back into business pretty soon.
Yes, good.
So I'm glad to see that. I didn't think he'd stay away long. He loves serving people too much.
He's such a people person. He is.
He most certainly is. We got about 2.5 minutes left in this segment. What would you like to tell the folks before we go?
Well, I would say this. If you're living a life in the world, you need to find a church. And if you're a family person, you'll never have peace and joy in your family till you get your family connected to a Bible-believing church. Get them in church. Get them involved in a good Bible-preaching church somewhere. And you'll never be the man you're supposed to be. You'll never be the mom you're supposed to be until you get to your kids to know and understand who Almighty God is, who would send His Son Jesus to die on the cross for your sin.
And it's just the little bitty things that you do that kids remember.
Give out
they remember everything.
Give out him, and I knew better than to go to that funeral today without him, because
there was a man one time, and I used to be really bad at biting my fingernails. I mean, I would bite them to the nub. His name is Mr. Denson, and I was about 6 years old. And he saw me sitting I was biting my fingernails, and he said, "See this?" He was missing several fingers. I was 25 years old before I knew the truth about this. He said, "See this?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You know what happened there?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "I was biting my fingernails."
Oh.
And so I mentioned that to my granddad. My granddad said, "Oh, did you stop biting your nails?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I quit. I mean, it scared me to death. I was afraid every time I put my hand." And he said, "That happened at a sawmill."
but
it stuck with me.
It worked. It worked.
And my parents tried everything, putting hot sauce on my fingernails and everything. I just ate through the hot sauce and go for it. But so with that being said, whatever you're led to do, just do it, and don't ask questions why.
That's right.
Phillip, thank you so much for being on the show with me. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And it's always a pleasure to be with you every single day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. Central, as we get to talk with each other. Again, if you would like if you have an idea for a show, you want me to do some research, I've been doing a lot of that, Phillip.
Good.
Send an email to Donna@donnasedge.com, and I'll be more than glad to cover that with you. Again, thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Phillip.
Thank you.
And thank Elizabeth, too.
I sure will.
You have been at this for 12 years. Why are you doing it? Because God's children are not for sale.
Rated PG-13.